I was a baby when I started. So my name is Pamela Capalid. I'm a certified financial planner and an accredited financial counselor. I am also the founder of Brunch and Budget, which is one-on-one financial planning for millennials-ish. I'm also the founder of Dead Day Job Army, which is group financial planning specifically for the needs of people of color, and I'll get more into that later. I'm based in Brooklyn technically, but I work with most of my clients virtually, except when we meet for brunch. Most of my clients are in their mid-20s to mid-40s, they're non-high net worth, and about half of my Brunch and Budget clients are people of color. My niche is, and this is what I like to say when anyone asks, who do you serve, who do you serve, who do you work with? And the people that I work with are people who are afraid to talk about their money. And the reality is that there is a fear around having this conversation about finance. I like to say that our biggest competition is not each other. Our biggest competition is a client doing nothing. And someone being so afraid to talk about their money that they won't do anything at all and they won't take any action. And so, before we get started, I use this slide to start all of my workshops, and I like to remind all of my clients, and I want to remind all of you today, the expectation, especially when you come out of these conferences and especially when you do workshops, is I'm going to do A, B, C, and D, and then success, right? But I loved Allison Levine's speech yesterday because the reality is we're all climbing the mountain. And we all have to go up and down and go up and around like this before we really figure out what our business model is, before we really figure out what we're adding that's new. And so I want you to keep this in mind, especially as you're getting a ton of information today. You go back, you try something, it doesn't work. That's the reality, and that's the thing. And I want you to keep this in mind as we keep going. So Brunch and Budget started. I actually did wealth management for about 7 years. I started in 2008, and I was working in a wealth management firm. And I was the only one of my friends who was in finance at all. So I would get asked at parties, I'd get pulled aside, people drinks in their hands, and they would say, Pam, what's an IRA? Pam, I really need help with my credit score. I have so much debt, I don't know what to do. And I had one friend, we were sitting around a fire pit one day, and she said, Pam, I'm so afraid to look at my finances, but I know I really need your help. And I said, why don't we do it over brunch or something? And her whole face totally changed. The look of relief on her face and the look of excitement on her face when I suggested brunch was a game changer. Brunch and Budget has allowed me to find common ground with people, to break bread, and to make the conversation more accessible for more people. I've done literally over 300 brunches and sat across the table from people and helped them with their finances. The one thing that I found is that it's great to give advice, but a lot of the people that I met with, I would check in with them 3 months later, and they wouldn't have done anything. And one thing that I realized was a lot of my clients actually needed more help implementing the plan than just getting the advice. And so that's how I came up with the monthly subscription model. I have about 75 clients. They're paying sliding scale based on income. And I help them implement the plan. I help them with behavior and habit change, which is a really huge thing, is understanding why you're spending what you're spending and where all of that is coming from. Where is all that emotional, financial baggage coming from? And so there's education, there's coaching that happens. A big thing about my clients is they don't want anything done for them necessarily. It's not about delegating, it's not about, oh, you do it for me. They want us to walk the path with them. They want us to be their guide, and they want us to be their financial advocate. I will literally get on the phone with clients and help them talk to collections agencies and help them handle their student loan debt and help them open IRAs because they don't know what the hell a risk tolerance questionnaire is, right? And so that's a huge thing that Brunch and Budget does. One thing that I found that was interesting though is about half of my clients are people of color, as I mentioned. And I found that I was having to plan for them differently. My clients of color were usually first-generation immigrants, they were first-generation college students, they were first-generation salaried professionals, and often all three. They were often making more money than their parents or their family had ever made in their lives. And so while they were making the income that was the same as their peers, they also were dealing with situations where they didn't have an inheritance, where they were supporting other family members. I have clients who are paying their mom's rent, who are covering their entire family's cell phone plan, who are sending money to their brother and his kids because he needed help that month. And so it's been harder for these clients to build wealth. They also don't have a legacy of home ownership in the same way. And they also tend to have larger student loan balances. And I started noticing these trends and wondering, like, what is going on? There must be something to this. And I started doing research on it and trying to figure out, okay, We have a racial wealth divide in this country, and that is the reality. According to research by Prosperity Now, about 1 in 3 households of color have 0 net worth or less. Based on data from the Federal Reserve, the average net worth of a white family is 10 times that of a black family. It will take 228 years for the average black family to catch up to the wealth of a white family today. The racial wealth divide is general, and it is a chasm. And one thing that I've been trying to figure out is, I've had clients who I met with who couldn't afford brunch and budget even with a sliding scale income. So where can I meet those clients? How do I meet those clients where they are? And that's where Dead Day Job Army really came in. Dead Day Job Army is group financial planning specifically for people of color and for people who do not have the ability to pay $200, $300 a month, $3,600 a year for a financial plan. And so I was able to scale it and make it more affordable by delivering the information in a group. The mission is to help people of color create financial stability and build generational wealth. Often, these are the first people who, in their family, who are able to actually start building wealth for the first time. They went to college, they have a salary job. And so Dead Day Job Army is a combination of education, group mastermind, and there's a one-on-one financial planning aspect as well, where you get assigned to a financial coach. The group model has made it way more affordable. It builds community. I currently have 55 clients in Dead Day Job Army right now. They all have access to eMoney, and that really gives us the ability to virtually handhold people in a scalable way. eMoney has been instrumental in being able to make this accessible for as many people as possible. And so how can you rise with me? The main thing is, I implore you to listen to your clients deeply and pay attention to patterns and trends. Treat every client as an individual, but understand what their collective struggle is. Understand what their collective pain points are. The other thing is, be willing to take risks and experiment with your business model, with the pricing, with the service offerings, right? We're going up and down Basecamp, and that's okay. We're climbing that mountain right now. And if you want to figure out how to add new things to your service model, the best way to do that is to start taking risks, to start experimenting. And the next best way to do that is to maybe have your younger planners be entrepreneurial. I love when Rachel was talking about being an intrapreneur. I know a lot of financial planners who say, I would love to work within a firm and work with the clients that I want to work with. The final thing is, I want you to ask, how can I make my practice more inclusive? We saw yesterday that FlexGen tends to work with more underserved markets. They work with women, they work with millennials, they work with people of color. And so how can you make your practice more welcoming, more inclusive, and more accessible to those demographics? Look at your staff, look at who your leaders are, look at who you're hiring. And also even look at down to like what kind of stock photos you have on your website. Is it people who look like the people that you want to serve? So I want to leave you with this. My husband and I hired a financial planner a couple years ago, and it was life-changing for us. I know financial planners hiring financial planners is kind of crazy, right? But it was life-changing for us. And one of the things that he took away from it is he said, financial planning is not a luxury. Financial planning is an expensive necessity. And so how can we take the expensive part out of it? How can we make it more accessible for more people so that they can also be reaching their life goals and reaching those transcendent points that we all know we help our clients do already? So thank you so much for rising with us.